I'm Hiromi Cota, and we're here with the Scion showcase, which is uh, here all here, and I think in the future, all Scion writers who would like to play Scion instead of just writing content. Um, I'm Hiromi, they, them. I'm coming to you from Coast Salish land, specifically Snohomish. I'm Scion's line developer. I'm the person to complain to. No, don't complain to me. I'm in charge of a lot of the decisions, but please don't complain to me. You can if it's important, especially if something is culturally insensitive. But
whoever complains to you, Hiromi, whoever does that.
We in the future we'll be joined by a few more folks, but right now let's go ahead and introduce ourselves, starting with Spider, because Spider's right there on my screen.
Spider, he, they, and I have written an awful lot of things for Scion, including everyone's most or least favorite trans titans. And I am out here in just Multnomah land, because that is why it's Multnomah County. And yeah, this is actually the first time I will ever fill out a Scion character sheet. The only other, I played it twice before, and I was given pre-gens both times, and it was like a single session. So yeah, this is my first actually self-made character sheet for Scion. I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice. Jeffrey, how about you next?
I'm Jeffrey, he, him. Again, I've worked on a lot of Scion things for the past few years. Origin up to the present and the exciting future.
I'm really looking forward to seeing your stuff from Once and Future, man. I'm really excited about that.
Oh yeah. It will be fun. It's just an entire chapter that's a pronunciation guide. Nothing else.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's it. I also never had a chance to actually play Scion.
Cool. Michele?
Hello, I'm Michele, he, him, and I'm Italian, if, as you can hear from the accent, and if you saw Disney's Luca, I live right next to the place that inspired the movie, so that's a location. And I actually didn't write from Scion, but I'm a big fan, and I, in a sense, also wrote about myth and legends for Onyx Path, because I'm one of the developers from the game, from the Cyclops game. So that's me, and I'm looking forward to run some Scion with these fine people.
Thanks. So because this is a session 0, and because we're going to be doing character creation, we're going to walk folks through it. Everyone here is familiar with the Storypath system, but some of you watching may not be. So we'll explain as we go. Because it's a session 0, we're also going to go over the kinds of things that we would like to see in the game and things that we would not like to see in a game. So making sure that we cover safety tools, because player safety is important. Like, you can be terrified and having a great time, or you can be terrified and be actually traumatized. And one of those is very good and the other one is fucking awful, and we're going to avoid that. And because Scion is an urban fantasy game, there's a lot of capacity and range for genre, from like super action adventure-y to like psychodrama to like there's a lot of directions that we can take this game in. So I have no idea what direction it's going to go in at this point, and neither does anyone else, and that's kind of fun.
Dragon kind of goes a little noir too. Like that's a very, so if that's your jam, that would be definitely a cool part of the Scion extended universe, as it were, to check out. A little plug, because I love Dragon. It was so much fun to write on.
For folks unfamiliar, Scion Dragon is a book that we kickstarted alongside of Mask of the Mythos. Scion Dragon is where instead of being the child of a god, you're the child of a dragon, and dragons have their own kind of philosophy with how the world should work. And that means that it tends to be more espionage, a little more spy, a little more noir, a little more detective, a little more behind the scenes, cloak and dagger type fun stuff. And Mask of the Mythos is also sort of this not canon, but kind of canon, where it's about cosmic horror in the Lovecraft vein, but with Lovecraft's racist garbage thrown out because fuck that guy. And it's delightful. There's a
it was really fun scrubbing a lot of that stuff out. Like I joked when we worked on the Mythos and Mythos Companion, I put on one song on repeat when I'm doing like writing, and I had Old Town Road on repeat. So here I am, like a queer Jew listening to a queer Black man on repeat, and I was like, Lovecraft is just, I got my laptop was powered by Lovecraft spinning. It's fun, and it is fun to go in and like kind of scrape and go, but what if it was actually this instead, and like scrape out some of that stuff and make cosmic horror that is not Lovecraft or Lovecraft's cat, and that's all I have to say about that.
If you don't know and you're willing to be upset, look up the name of Lovecraft's cat. If you don't want to be upset, do not look it up.
Don't look it up. It summarizes everything.
Into the man's life, and don't read his letters. Don't read about what his peers knew about him and the people that were his friends, and he's still angered because he was that kind of piece of garbage. So
he refused to give his Jewish wife a divorce just to screw up her life. So anyway, moving on, because he was terrible. Let's talk about cool stuff.
So let me go buy the book, and I'm actually not going to flip through pages because that just takes too long.
I was going to say, I've got my PDF. These are also conveniently available in searchable PDFs.
Character creation, chapter 3, page 94. Okay, so the very first step in the official character creation is coming up with a concept, which could be something like disbarred lawyer, Loki's straight-faced daughter, Kung Fu rap star, which is actually a canonical character. Little Mao is fantastic. I love him so much. Anyway, if folks have an idea in mind for a character concept that they want to work with, we can go ahead and start with that. Sometimes I find that it's easier to work kind of backwards and pick what kinds of, like, where you want the character to end up as opposed to where you want them to start. Does anyone have an idea that they're sort of dying to express?
I'm tumbling things over in my head.
Decision paralysis is very real.
Well, I know I've already picked my parents and stuff. I'm just trying to figure out the rest of it.
Yeah, that's covered.
I often start, if I can't think of something, just because we're talking for folks who may not know, with concepts like this, is picking out, like, also your divine parent is also another good place to start. And then, because all of the pantheons from Hero onward these are the kinds of people that your divine parent picks. So if you're like, oh, I really like, the Aesir, I really like the Theoi, let me go look at, that, you can choose, okay, I like this god and I like these people. And that can sometimes give you some, oh, they pick environmentalists, they pick, corporate raiders, whatever it is. And you can sometimes come from there. So I'm actually going to flip open because I am thinking about Freya, and I will go and look at, see like what their, what she picks and who she's about, and go from there.
And to be explicit to folks watching, in Scion, your character has a divine parent. And at some point that becomes very apparent to you, both in terms of you are the child of a god and which god that is. Because we're playing at an origin level, which is before the character gets kind of infused with divine power or Ichor, divine Ichor, if you like. Your character may or may not actually know, and that's fine. Also, and this is like explicit in the books because it needs to be, if the divine entity is specific to a culture, specific, and often like a region, your character doesn't have to be from that region. Like gods are free to do what they want. We're not in charge of the gods, that, like, not as writers, not as people, not as mortal beings. Like gods do what they want to do, and if they decide that that person on the other side of the globe is worthy of being their child, then they're going to do it. And that allows people to have a very multicultural experience within themselves, which is something that I deeply appreciate because I'm multicultural everywhere I go. I was born multicultural. I can't help it.
Yep.
I'm Japanese, I'm Okinawan, I'm Yayaman, I'm Mexican, I'm Swedish, I'm English, I'm many, many things. So we have Spider thinking Aesir, maybe Freya.
I've got my concept now, actually. While you were talking, I'm going to do a transmasculine civil rights lawyer. I'm sure you're shocked. Like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm basically going to do Chase Strangio as a child of Freya. If that kind of gives you an idea, like the LGBTQ civil rights lawyer. And I know you're all surprised.
I was thinking about Spider actually provided me the word that I needed. Is let's go with aggressive environmentalist, and it's probably can be described as a punk poison ivy, something like that.
Yes, I am here for it. We're gonna be best friends. It's gonna be great.
I have the divine parent in mind and everything, but we'll get to that later.
And I think I'm going to go against my usual type of character. I think my character concept comes down to himbo with a destiny.
Himbo with a destiny?
That's a good way.
I love him already.
Everybody's best friend.
Like a golden retriever with a destiny.
Exactly.
I'm here for it.
And
I'm totally here for it.
Again, I also know which gods we can pick him. That stage.
Your audio's fading out a bit for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be doing this occasionally.
Yes, you're fine, and then it sounds like you're going underwater, and then it will come back a little bit. I don't know what's going on, but
sure. But also shaky internet connection, so might be a bit of that.
All good.
Yes.
All right. So yes, if there's anything I need to repeat at any point, just wave your hands frantically.
Gotcha. Okay. No worries. Okay. So that is the character concepts, and the official next step is deciding on deeds, and this is something that we may or may not cement at this point. So deeds are things that you want to get done, and they are also, speaking long term, how you get more powerful. And so the idea with deeds in Scion is that you have a short-term deed. This is something that you could conceivably get done this session. You have long-term deeds, which usually take several sessions. It'll usually be like a story arc, not necessarily a whole story arc, but roughly that long. And then you have band deeds. Bands are a group of Scions. So in this case, you three are a band. And you can think of it as a musical band, or you can think about it as a group of people who have banded together for the betterment of something. In this case, civil rights and the environment, which is a pretty solid thing to band about.
Yes.
So does anyone have anything that they want to accomplish next session when these characters come to life?
I actually didn't think that far, so I plan to just go with the flow, and I didn't come up with deeds in my mind already.
Sure.
Well, I mean, are we starting out as people who are already in connection with one another, or are we starting out, because simply like the concept of if we are not already connected, right? Or if we are tenuously connected, then a good, short-term deed for anyone who might like it would be to make those connections and to like basically become a proto band, by the end of the session, is to be integrated together in some fashion. So
yeah. And that's a very reasonable short-term goal, short-term deed, getting systems mixed up. I write for a lot of systems. System bleed happens, which is one of the reasons why I'm looking dead at the book, because I'm like,
I keep wanting to call them aspirations, so I'm with
yes.
you.
Yeah, there's a lot of terms for things that are very similar.
Yep.
I know Scion very well,
Of course.
but the names of things sometimes get bled over, especially when I'm talking.
I find that when I'm recording, things bleed even more because the mind is just cross everywhere.
Yeah.
So I totally get you there.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like what we're gonna do. One of the things that we're already building into this campaign is that you don't know each other yet. So that's part of the story.
Right.
Meeting each other and then finding that you need to cooperate towards a goal is now part of the campaign. And this is how collaborative story building works, which is fun for everyone, unless you hate that, in which case, well, don't do it.
Fine to just write a book if you don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, cool. Integrated storytelling is not a thing for everyone. I think for a longer term deed for myself, just so we're kind of moving that conversation a little, I think that because it's me, one of the long-term deed for the origin level of this, at least, is going to be finding an integrative balance between being a child of the Aesir and my character's Jewishness. You're shocked, I know. But I think that is as a kind of arc thing, finding that balance point is going to be important for the character internally. So
yeah, no, that is a solid long-term deed.
Yeah, I'm thinking for mine, this will require there to be some kind of antagonist somewhere down the line. But I'm thinking for sort of,
Cutting out a bit.
You're cutting out a little bit, Jeffrey. Sorry.
got that preference of trying to
It dropped almost immediately. Like you were super clear for a sec.
And now.
Mhm.
Now I'm just thrown off guard.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's all right. So, long-term deed. Turn an enemy into an ally.
Nice.
Yes.
That is a perfect himbo goal. A+.
Yes. Michele?
Yeah, I'm a little bit without interesting ideas right now. I think that given my character and probably it's more related to the divine parent and probably find a balance between the discovery of being the son of a god and what I want to do about that, to put them in that element into practice into my life, the things that I actually care about.
Nice.
It's
So,
a little big, but I'll try that. It's put into practice being the fact of being a Scion, or maybe take the powers for a test run or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a solid deed. Like the idea of being like, well, I have power. I need to actually use it for something that matters. Like I think that's like an underlying theme through a lot of Scion is that there is this divine power that the characters have, and there is kind of an obligation to do something with it. I don't want to go Spider-Man-y, but you know where that goes.
Yes.
I think that my character would go, no, now I have these powers, and thank gods, plural, and let's do something with it.
Yeah. Okay. So step 2 of character creation is paths. And so this is like where the Storypath system gets its name, is that you have paths that have led you to this point. And those paths continue, like you mechanically, you can keep putting points into them, and like your journey along those paths continue. But at character creation, we're talking about basically where you came from, which is your origin path, what kind of how you fit into the world, which is your role path, and then society or pantheon, which is like where you fit into the world, often who your divine parent is, almost always who your divine parent is. So origins first, and this is like a broad concept, and so like it could be like are you a military brat? Are you raised in a wealthy household, fighting on the streets to make ends meet? Like there's a lot of possibilities for the origin path.
So I think I'm gonna go ahead. I have mine. I'm just actually going to do itinerant rabbi's kid. One of the local rabbis here in Portland, Rabbi Ariel Stone, who's amazing, was actually the first Western rabbi in Ukraine. At when Ukraine became independent, and she founded the first synagogue, post-Soviet synagogue in Ukraine in '93. So the idea of having a parent who's something like that, who will pick up their life and go somewhere where it's kind of dangerous, in order to be able to do the right thing and execute that tikkun olam, repair of the world, sounds like somebody that would raise a character that becomes, a civil rights lawyer kind of person. So I think that's an example, I guess, and that's what I'm going to go with.
Nice.
Yeah, I think for my origin, I'm going to keep it simple with just privileged childhood. He's the kind of person who could have turned out to be just really terrible.
You just faded out. You're the kind of person who, and then we lost you.
Who could turn out terrible. Just the worst bro. But didn't, because he's genuinely sweet.
I love that. I love him.
Nice.
I love him already.
Yes. Himbo magic already in full effect.
Okay, that's. I think that I'll go with Blue Collar Family more than anything, rather than Suburbia, or because Suburbia doesn't really fit. Middle class doesn't really fit. I'm more with for a ordinary, nice Blue Collar Family with all the hardships and also the ideals that come with that kind of environment and everything.
Awesome. Okay. So there are essentially in Origin chapter 3 around page 100, there are a list of sort of like pre-created origin paths, and this gives you people that you could be connected to as well as skills. And there are basically two ways to do this. One is to pick whichever one of those best fits your character idea, the path that you described. The other one is to hack it together on the fly. I honestly don't know which one's more fun. I like both methods for character creation. If you're playing Scion and you're like, I want to get character creation done fast, then the best option is to go, okay, pick whichever one of the official options best fits. But you don't have to. And that's one of the fun things about this thing. So on this list, Life of Privilege is one of the origin paths, which kind of jumps out at me for Jeffrey's character. I'm not saying Jeffrey has to pick it. I'm just saying it's there on page 101.
Pretty close to what I was thinking.
And
so I think I'm actually going to take the military brat, but I'm going to tweak it because that aura really works well for a pastor's kid or a rabbi's kid. Even if you take out that military and you put in, like that strict upbringing, lots of guidance and structure, and then a lot of rabbis' kids become rabbis and so on and so forth. So it fits. You just have to kind of tweak that. I think we'll go there.
Yeah, I think to make mine, I'll tweak. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I think I'll tweak out the Suburbia to better fit my idea of slightly lower class than the middle class. This example path explains, because the path described in the book says that you never saw your parents struggle, and you had the chance to and the opportunities to go to college and everything. But I think that for my character, seeing that the opportunities they had came at a great price from their parents, and that not everything was possible because perhaps someone lost a job at some point, or a place shut down, and they had to cut people, and always the people on the bottom line that live first. So I think I'll tweak that a little bit to make it fit better.
Nice. Yeah, when I was reviewing it, I'm like, wait, we have socioeconomically, we have privileged, suburban, street. And I'm like, Maybe we should write one here.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, if you, yeah, because that's kind of that middle spot is kind of where I think my character will be, because like if you seminary costs a lot of money, and unless you are settling into a synagogue that is going to pay you, you know, if you're running to establish synagogues in places and to, you know, always go to where you are needed the most, they probably grew up with a parent that had a lot of debt that was not paid off, and so there's always just kind of like making it work, you know. And I think like making it work is kind of that kind of, you know, that spot for them.
Yeah. Okay. So next we're talking about role paths. So we're talking how the character sort of fits into the world. Like are they like an academic? Are they someone who like, are they a doctor or an EMT, or like a street brawler? Are they a detective, not necessarily a police detective, but someone who investigates, or even just meddles in things that aren't necessarily their business? That would also count as a detective. They'd probably get arrested, but you know. So there's a few. Again, there are official ones in the book. We can come up with our own. We can tweak them, and there's plenty of space to make this your own.
Yeah, I think I'll tweak that detective to, let's call it rebel, in the sense that they investigate and they get their hands dirty when it's needed, and so it's unprofessional detective in a sense.
So like more vigilante than.
Yeah, you actually more of a let's call it activist. Let's put it that way. Activist might work well for our name of the role. Actually, that fits well.
Okay.
I'm gonna, I think, take a tweak on charismatic leader, because charismatic leader tends, as it's written in the book, is very like you shoot to the top of an organization or whatever. But like in this kind of situation, like the more you divest of yourself, the better you do as a leader. In, you know, queer communities and leftist communities, like you get influence and then you give that influence away. So it's a similar kind of take on charismatic leader, but it's not somebody who's going to be in a, you know, a C-suite or anything like that. It's someone who knows people and can talk their way into and out of things and can get things done based on sweet talking as much as anything else, and leadership, you know, like, you know what people want and you find a way to make it work.
Nice.
And for my role path, I think it will be a bit more abstract.
Abstract's good.
I don't imagine this person having a real job. So his role is everybody's best friend. You need to move a couch, you give him a call. You need to be driven to the hospital, give him a call.
Yeah, that's a perfect emo picture.
He's just like, I just love him already.
Yeah.
He's our cinnamon roll we must protect. I love him.
I mean, it's a role in society, and it's a role that more people should have. So
I'm not arguing at all. I think it's beautiful.
Everyone should know one.
Yeah, actually, yes.
Okay. So now we're at the third path, which is the society, which is more for non-Scion characters, which exist in Scion, even though the name of the game is Scion. But denizens get a little weird, and I don't think anyone wants to play a denizen in this particular group.
No, but they're
As
fun.
more features for denizens come out, that may change. But that's
Saints
not
and
today.
Monsters is soon. Saints and Monsters is soon.
Mhm.
I'm
Very excited.
this close to playing an actual dog.
Yes.
Well,
I know.
that's it. Denizens are cool already, but with Saints and Monsters, they get even cooler.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that.
Next time I'll play an actual mermaid, you know.
Rules as written, you could play a dog right out of the gate with the material that we have now. Like that's
true.
That's in the back of Origin. I mean, not specifically a dog, but like therianthropes are there, and that's you know kind of close enough.
We've got the Kushi, which is it's a dog.
Also true.
But no, I'll just maybe he's a were-dog.
God damn it, Jeffrey. That's amazing.
So
I'm assuming that Spider's Scion characters Pantheon Path is going to be Aesir because
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Freya, yes.
Oh yes.
Okay, then I guess I'll tell mine, and I'll go with the Bogovi and with Beres.
Erica's gonna be so hyped.
Had this been a dragon game, I would have jumped straight into Tiamat or Jormungandr because I'm obsessed with both of them, but Beres is good as well.
I love Jormungandr. He was fun to write. He's my sad big dog.
You did a great job with Jormungandr. I love Tiamat so much. She's probably my favorite mythological figure of all. But well, I love Mother of Monsters, so Echidna is cool too. But Tiamat.
You should make sure to tell Erica that. Make sure to tell Erica that for sure.
I will.
Jormungandr is my big sad puppy of the Longworms, and I love him to death.
But for this character, Beres and the Bogo, it's a nice choice.
Nice. Love it.
Right. And although I don't think this character knows it yet, he is going to be chosen by Kartikeya. His Pantheon Path is future divine gender.
Oh no.
I didn't get the god or pantheon.
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Kartikeya, Murugan, Skanda, the Deva war leader.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay. Now scrolling back up. All right. So next step is that now that we have the 3 paths for each of the players, each of those paths has 3 skills that are associated with it. And so like these are going to be the things that you get to shove points into kind of right away. And if for several of the paths we kind of tweaked or made new things, and so in those cases what 3 skills are available are kind of up to you/me. Like, if it makes sense, then go for it. And if you really want something for your character, we can try to figure out a logical path that makes it work.
Okay.
Some story guides will just be like, no, it's this because it's my game, which is not quite true. It's everyone at the table's game because everyone is a player, including the story guide. Everyone should be having fun. It's a collaborative game. You can rule your game with an iron fist. That is fun for some people. I don't do it, and I would rather not play in that kind of game, but you and your friends may have different opinions about what fun means.
Okay, since I changed mine a bit, I guess I'll tell you for approval if those work for you. Is it all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for I'm an hero because I close my sheet right now instead of clicking it. Okay, I picked for my origin path. It started with culture, empathy, and technology, and I switched technology to integrity instead because of all the struggles and the things I mentioned before. I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. And for I'll pick back the origin I tweaked before because okay. It was yes, it started as detective, and so I changed it to activist.
Mhm.
And I think that I think my character, rather than firearms, prefers to get there and dirty in a more direct sense. So I switched that to close combat. And subterfuge still makes sense to avoid some trouble here and there. So that's another choice.
Yeah.
And okay. Subterfuge. I didn't know what to pick last, so I'll go with perhaps as an activist, either athletics or medicine can work. So I'll ask my fellow Scion players what they think would work for them.
One more time. I'm sorry. I was reading something while it.
So quite good. If for my activist role, if medicine or athletics would work better.
Speaking as someone who is connected to the Portland activist community, absolutely medicine. Absolutely medicine, because frontline medics are essential to any kind of ground floor activists. And I mean, that's just everybody should be carrying, an immediate response kit these days. So yeah, definitely medicine.
But it's medicine, and I'm done because I then pick the 2 skill associated with the Bogovi, and my character
for
you get to pick one other of your choice for the Pantheon path too.
Yes. So. Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
That's a good point to bring it.
Yes, I didn't remember.
Yeah. So you're picking a third for your Pantheon path other than the 2 that are listed in the book? Because remember, I've never made a sheet
so
before.
I have culture and survival because of the Bogovi. And so let's pick that athletics. So I'll get it anyways. Okay.
So I'm gonna for the military brat, switching it over, I'm gonna switch technology for integrity. And then for my third one, for my Pantheon, I will go with academics. I think that is a necessary Jimmy Jam there. I think I'm set. The rest of them worked out perfectly. So I have academics, close combat, culture, empathy, integrity, leadership, occult, and persuasion. Like, there you go.
And to sort of like clarify things for folks following along who aren't super familiar with the system, the reason why we're sort of picking and clarifying which skills are associated with which path is because the next step is that we are going to have the players rank which path is most important to their character. And that determines how good they are at these skills. So knowing what skills are tied to which path is essential at this point. So if you're creating a character for Scion, it's very helpful to like have a separate piece of paper and just like write down, okay, this is my path. I have academics, culture, and empathy. This is my role. I have medicine, occult, and survival, which is kind of a weird trio. I don't know what role that would be, but they'd probably be a lot of fun to talk to.
That's
or terrifying.
Both.
like one of the characters in Kieran Gillen's Once and Future, you know?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Like the grandmom from that. Been hunting monsters all your life kind of jam. That would be my take on that one. So we should have 9 total skills, yes, at this point? Okay, I'm missing one.
Also,
Nine
Jeffrey might have skills to work out.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Origin, academics, athletics, culture, good school, sports team, arts, role, empathy, integrity, pilot.
Empathy, integrity, pilot. Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so I have. Oh, sorry.
Athletics and survival come with the data, and leadership. Athletics, survival,
leadership. As the last one. Okay. It makes sense if it's a good array of skills for the character.
Okay, and then for each of you, you rank which of the paths is most important, second most, and then third most. They're all important to the character, but people tend to specialize. So go ahead and figure that out, and then.
I have to do one more little tweak because I have an overlap of leadership in 2 of my paths. So I'm just set my community leader thing to also include subterfuge, because unfortunately, sometimes you have to not only know when people aren't telling you the truth, but tell half truths or whatever. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, makes total sense. Once you have them ranked, each skill that's part of the number 1 or primary path, each of those skills gets 3 dots, which means you're really good at it. For folks who are new to the Storypath system, dots are essentially how many points go into a skill, with 0 being you are an average person who has no training in the thing. So for example, close combat is what determines how you fight, just in general, like with your hands or with a weapon. If you have a close combat of 0, you've probably never been in a fight, and you've probably never taken any classes or anything. And if you have like 1 dot, you probably have some training. You've taken some classes. You have an idea of what you're doing. At 3 dots, you are good. Like 3 dots is like you could be a professional fighter. At 5 dots, you are at the pinnacle of human performance. Like you might have to tone down what you're doing to not kill people, or to prevent from being discovered as being like just extraordinary. And that having to hide your ability is something that may or may not be relevant to your characters in Scion, depending on what kind of Scion game you're playing. If you're playing one where actions have nasty consequences and you need to keep a low profile, oh boy, do you not want to demonstrate that you can do 2-minute miles. You do not want to show that off. Like, you could do it with 5 dots. You don't want to. So the primary or number 1 path, each of those skills gets 3 dots. Secondary gets 2. And again, all of them. You don't have to pick which ones get cool. The picking has already been done by ranking them. And then the tertiary, each skill gets 1 dot.
Okay.
If I'm remembering right, if you have the same skill under 2 paths, you get both the dots so long as it doesn't go over 5.
Any given skill can be associated with at most 2 of your paths.
Got it.
So you can have an overlap. You may not have 2 overlaps.
Got it.
Good.
Yeah, the other Storypath games and Scion as well encourage to pick another one in case of it overlaps, because it helps with things like path progression and stuff. So, but it's not mandatory. Do whatever works for your table.
Yeah, and it one of the reasons to pick another one is because it gives you more flexibility. But on the other hand, if you wanted 5 dots in a skill, that would do it. That would do it right off the bat. I'm not saying people need to min-max. I'm just saying that you could. Moving
you
on,
really need to have 5 dots in the combat and the firearms right at the start.
For playing
That's
that
usually
kind
a Met, not me.
No,
For
I
playing
know
that
people
kind of
that
campaign.
roll that way. I had many players that just roll that way, no matter what the kind of game.
No, I'm good. I got mine.
I'm good with mine as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
So step 4 is attributes. So Storypath has 9 attributes. They are divided into both arenas, which are like what kind of connects them in terms of your how do I even describe this? Like, is this mental attributes? Is this physical? Is this social? And then you have approaches, which are, how are you doing this? How are you applying this?
Right.
So like power, finesse, and resistance, which depending on printings might be force, finesse, and resilience. As I'm looking between two different versions of this, they say different things, so I don't know which one is final. But I think it's force, finesse, and resilience, which means that the character sheet is out of date, but that's okay. So for character creation, each of you are going to rank which one of the arenas, mental, physical, and social, is top, second, third, and then the same thing with approaches. Actually, no, that's not right. You pick one approach, which is, this is your preferred way of getting things done. Sorry, I systemed myself.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So I'm thinking physical, social, mental, approach, resilience. This is just going to be a wall of happy
That is a very himbo way to set things up.
Social, mental, physical, finesse, I think is going to be the way to do this.
I think I'll go. That's a nice choice. I think physical, mental, and social are mine, and the force for approach. My character is really direct in that sense.
Nice. Okay. And so by default, and this is already on the character sheets, everyone gets one in everything because you're Scions. You're assumed to be at least okay, or at least baseline.
Right. All humans are, all PCs are baseline in the thing.
Yeah. Which is
okay.
Oh.
No, sorry, I was commenting the dots. It's always a surprise when you put the bonus dots from the approach and stuff.
Yeah. Then you're like, do I need to start with manipulation 5, or
yeah,
or could I move a dot around here and there? I mean,
sorry, I interrupted. I just talk like that.
It's all good.
Okay.
Yeah,
and apparently I have might 5 because of that as a character creation, and that wasn't expected, but we'll take it.
We'll tweak it around a little bit, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, just sort of like over explaining for the sake of the audience. The top arena, the thing that you're like the set attributes that your character is best at. You get six dots to spread between those 3. You can't put more than 5 in because that kind of breaks the system. And also, this is before you become infused with divine power. You don't get to be more powerful than everyone else before you're more powerful than everyone else. It's an order of operations thing. The one in the second arena, the second most favorite arena, you get 4 dots to spread around. The bottom one you get 2. And what Spider and Michaeli are just talking about is that with your favorite approach, you get an additional 2 dots to each of the attributes in your favorite approach, which means that if you are forceful, you're good at being forceful. If you have finesse, you are good at finesse. Same with resilience. If you are resilient, you are resilient. Adding 2 dots is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, now I think we'll shift some dots around and maybe not start with a 5. It's just that manipulation 5 is a lot to start with.
It's a lot of dice.
Yeah, it is. I was like, wait, cunning 5 and manipulation? I don't think so. I don't need, that's just move things around a little bit here.
Just starting character, 10 dice. I win.
Do the thing I want you to do now. You know what this is? It's growth from my 1990s World of Darkness days.
Don't have to be perfect at everything.
Listen. Yes, I do. Everything all the time.
No. Rolling lots of dice, it's always nice when you pick a bunch.
Not gonna argue that rolling lots of dice is fun.
Buckets of dice, right?
Anyone who's familiar with what I do, that's all gay dice up top. The top 2 trays, all gay dice.
Just some of your dice.
Yes,
small collect. Yeah, I know. Oh, I know.
There was another stack about this high. I wasn't going to try and grab 2. Grabbing this was probably a mistake. I hope I don't drop anything.
Yeah, please don't. for your own sake. Having to resort those would be annoying.
It would.
All right. So I have mine squared.
Okay.
So what is our next step if everyone has done the things?
The next step, step 5, calling and knacks. So callings are the kind of roles that gods and titans and other creatures in Scion have. Bless you.
I'm okay. I get pain spikes now and again. I'm good.
Gotcha. So because all of these characters are pre-visitation, because they're origin characters, the calling has to come from one of your divine parents' 3 callings. And so like when I say calling, these are things like, is this a warrior god? Is this a leader god? A love god? Is this a liminal who that likes to be on boundaries and like the spaces between the spaces? So these kind of not exactly dictate what the god and therefore the Scion can do, but they certainly encourage. And so because each of you have an idea, or you've all picked who your character's divine parent is, it's just a matter of like flipping to the god's write-up and going like, okay, which one of these 3 looks good to me?
Guardian. Like, there we go. We're good.
Yep, no,
Thanks.
done.
Yep.
I'll go with judge.
And leader.
Nice.
Yay.
Yay. Avoiding warrior. Yay.
I was wondering. Yeah.
Page would have been hilarious, but
And then at this stage, again, to do the over explaining, like we just get 1 dot in that calling and we're good.
Mm-hmm. And once you have the calling, that determines your knack, or at least narrows it down. So knacks are both a skill and it's both a skill and a not always supernatural ability, but often in that vein. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is obviously non-human, but the more charged a knack gets, the more like sort of legend that gets behind it, the more supernatural it becomes. So the knacks are much further down in the book. And what is this? Oh, it's not.
Starts
It's
on
not much
104.
further. It's not much further.
Yeah, starts at 104.
I keep forgetting how short Origin is.
Mm-hmm.
I have to flip through Hero and Demigod and whatnot like all the time, and I'm like, yeah, character creations here, and then Max and what all the stuff is like at the not the end, but towards the end. I'm like, oh right, Origin's just all together. And so, like Spider was saying, Nax starts on page 104. The lists start on the next page with any, which means that if you look at your callings, Nax, and you're like, nah, I'm not feeling any of those, you can just pick one from the any list. And after that, you have creator, guardian, healer, like each of those have Nax. And this gives you both things that you can do as actions in the game, as well as just like being better at what you do.
Well, I'm going to pick from the any list, just because I want to see this knack in action. Somebody's watching me.
That is such a fun one. I love that one so much.
Yes. For the audience at home, if my character is in danger, the divine sends a little bit of this character, blissfully unaware where this help is coming. All he knows is, hey, wow, I'd like to step up from the
Your volume is dropping off
Yeah,
again.
you
Sorry.
faded again. Sorry.
I have to learn to speak in quick bursts. All he knows
I'm sorry, Jeffrey.
people help him when he's in trouble. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know who they are.
At the end,
Yeah.
it's not there.
Yeah, somebody who's watching me is just, it's such a delightful knack.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, especially for a himbo, it's just like it's perfect. It's a fantastic choice. Just like, I'm just walking into danger. Doop de doop de doo. Why are you pointing a weapon at me? You should talk to those two people behind you. Doop de doop de doo.
It was the first snack that I chose for the NPC that I constantly talk about that's going to be in Once and Future. Because I was like, that one, yep, that one. So I can't wait till that book comes out so that I can just nerd out about, like, it's my favorite NPC I've ever designed. So I think I'm having a hard time choosing between a purpose and a vigil, because both of those are so good. Gosh, that's a hard choice. So I have to go with a purpose, because like, it's dedicate yourself to an ideal of your choosing. When you take action to defend this ideal, gain +1 enhancement to all applicable rolls and to any stunts you may have gained from Nax. And I'm just gonna take that and write Tikkun Olam after it, and then just, we're good. I think that's it.
For me, as much as I always love Scent of the Divine, I think I'll go with the truth arises, because I like the idea of putting bad people in the corner and they start spilling their misdeeds around. So that's nice.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah,
so that's covered.
That fits your character so far very well.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of why character creation works well this way, where we just kind of like build up the idea of what the character is. Like, you start with like this small seed, and then like as we talk more and develop paths and knacks, or like now we're like, okay. Started off aggressive environmentalist, punk poison ivy, and now it's extra on the aggressive, but also like not carelessly. Like there's a purpose, and like trying to do good in the world, which we need more of.
Absolutely.
All right. And
next,
now that we have each character's calling and their knack, and by the way, for starting origin characters, you only get one of each. which I mean that's in the book, but again,
Right.
for people who are following along on this to be like, the book's not making sense to me. Explain how I do the thing. This is how you do the thing. You get one of each.
Absolutely.
Later on, you can get more, but right now, just one for each. And so now we're on step 6, which is finishing touches. You have 5 additional skill dots. You can put them where you want. Again, you can't go over 5. 1, because the character sheet doesn't have that much space. And 2, because it kind of breaks the game. And 3, because as a pre-visitation Scion, you aren't more powerful than other humans. So you don't get to be superhuman until you're superhuman. And you can put those dots wherever you want. They do not have to be in skills that you got from your paths. So like if your 3 paths didn't give you persuasion and you really want it, you can put dots in persuasion now. Likewise, you get 1 extra attribute dot. You can put that in any of the things. Again, don't go past 5. And now you get a choice of 2 additional necks or 4 points of birthrights. And
Right.
it is a tough choice
It is a
because
tough choice.
knacks are good, but birthrights are also good.
Birthrights are so good. Oh shoot.
And again, for folks at home unfamiliar with the system, birthrights are things that your divine parent has sort of gifted upon you. Birthrights can be things like an animal who, or many animals that like you, hang around you, have special calls just for you, leave presents. They can be guides, people who are very smart at a specific thing that you can go consult with, that you can have conversations and do research with. They can be followers. They can be people who you can have an entourage. You can have a posse. You can have a detective team that you can just have on call and be like, it's on, go raid that house, or go have a huge protest in front of the detention center. Just go do the thing. It can be a relic. It can be like an actual holy item associated, not necessarily with your god. It could be from that pantheon. It's often from that god, but you know, gods trade favors, and sometimes those favors mean that even a scion of someone besides Thor can get a piece of Mjolnir, and then, well, it's a piece of Mjolnir. You do what you want with it. So there's like, birthrights have a lot of variety and a lot of potential power behind them. So, but at the same time, knacks are really cool.
Yeah, that's true. So I think what I might do is the Sleipnir that I wrote up for Thyra, the wheelchair thing. I don't know if you remember that one. I might do that also, and I don't know how many dots you would want me to use for that. Because that's just a fun, cool idea. It's a relic that is a wheelchair that turns into an 8-legged spidery kind of jam and is semi-sentient and can climb walls or other impassable surfaces. So yes, that was a fun idea, and I think I want to take that for whatever I name this person. So, but I don't know how many dots you would want me to use on that, because if that's not all my dots, I'm gonna get a skug cat too, one of Freya's cats.
The fun thing with birthrights is that they are kind of point negotiable, which means that you have the ability to later on down the line increase their power by adding more dots. So you can put however many dots you would like into Sleipnir, and then depending on how many are there, it will be that much more or less powerful. So
Okay.
It's kind of up to you.
So I think I kind of want to do 3 and 1 for right now between the Skullcat and Sleipnir, because I think that's like for having a quasi sentient thing that can cross impassable things and climb walls. I think that about does it. You know, that's like basically two powers, right? It's a Sleipnir that can just travel up and down things and over things, and then it is a semi-sentient wheelchair essentially. So I think that's 2 or 3, I would say, because it's like a power per dot.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the transforming would be a 3rd dot, so let's call it 3 dots.
Yep, sounds totally reasonable.
Stop it, or you have to leave. Sorry, this is my dog. He loves me very much.
Okay, I resorted to picking one of the Scion Curious books so far. That's Title, okay?
Ooh.
And I think I'll go and tweak a little the Farrier's pups from there and have Veles give me a literal briar wolf. So it's a wolf covered in briars. That works. It's cool. That's 3 dots. And I think I'll get an equally gnarly or knife from that could work as a little weapon for 1 dot. And I'll sort it out eventually what it does. 1 dot doesn't give superpowers for a relic, but it's still a relic, and dots matter even there. But I'm happy with 3 dots for my Briar Wolf there.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the idea. 4-dot follower.
Okay.
That my character isn't aware that he has. Because I will spend one of those points to give them back in sheets.
Just lost you.
Lost you again.
One of those points, and we're
on the in sheep's clothing knack.
Ooh.
So the follower changes shape.
Nice.
Is otherwise there to make sure that I stay alive until
Makes sense.
bodyguard follower, just to keep it alive.
Lost you a bit after sheep's clothing knack. Sorry, like it.
Just a bit. Basically, just a bodyguard.
Okay. Yeah, no, that.
Yep.
To make sure I could tell that to make sure he survives until the visitation.
Yes.
Yeah, 4-dot follower will absolutely help. Again, like that is such a himbo thing. You are on brand the whole time. Okay.
I think I'm just gonna do it 1 dot. I'm sorry, 1 dot on my skull cat, and it can talk, and they don't know that yet because they are Freya's messengers. So, like, the skull cat can talk. It's a Maine Coon kind of looking forest cat. It's really a Norwegian forest cat, but you know, yeah. Now I have to name that cat. Great. Great.
All right. So the next kind of stage in finishing touches is calculating defense, and This is basically just your resilience attributes or resistance, depending on the character sheet. The character sheet I sent you sends resistance, but
Resistance.
so it's
10. Okay, cool.
you essentially it's you will use one of those stats for your defense. It's usually stamina because you're usually being physically attacked, but sometimes someone might be socially attacking you or mentally attacking you. And so those are how those work.
Gotcha.
For health, is the next thing, which is part of the injury tracker. Injury condition tracker. The lower right of the character sheet, it doesn't actually say injury condition tracker. It just says health. Other versions of the character sheet may or may not. At character creation, like by default, you have 4 levels. And this means that like you can get hit those 4 times because they all have to get knocked out in order for you to get dropped. So really you have kind of 5, but not really. If your stamina is 3 or 4, you get 1 additional bruise slot. If you have stamina of 5, I knew it was going to be relevant. I knew it. If you have stamina of 5, you get 2 additional bruised slots, so you have 3 bruised slots total. Which means someone hits you with a bat, and you're like, "I'm gonna feel that tomorrow," and then they hit you with a bat again, and you're like, "Take some ibuprofen," and then they hit you with the bat again, and you're still not actually hurt.
Amazing.
Scions are fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that assumes that they hit you each time and do damage, which might not be the case. All right. So that is sort of the extent of the mechanical things that we have. And well, no, that's not entirely true. There's always the option of tweaking, which I think is actually on the next page. It is on the next page. Cool. If you really, really want to, you can take 1 dot from an attribute and switch it to a different attribute. You can do it from a skill to a skill. Don't do more than that because that kind of starts skewing the character concept from the one that we've been working on. But if you've gotten to this point, you're looking at all your stats and you're like, that doesn't match what I wanted, then maybe shift more. But in general, you shouldn't need to move more than 1. And you can swap out and back, but
I love my character already, so
I think I'm good. Yeah.
All right. So then, character creation is essentially done at this phase, which means now we get to talk about like what kinds of adventures we want to go on.
Could we do maybe a 5 to 10 minute
That's
break?
where I was going. You're same train. All right. We're going to take a short break. If you're watching this, don't go anywhere because this is recorded and we're just going to cut between the two. There's going to be no gap. All right. So now that we're done with character creation, we're essentially going to start doing campaign creation. And while we can talk about themes and elements that we want to have included and what kind of genre this ought to take, safety first. So there's a bunch of different ways there's a bunch of different safety tools and a bunch of different ways to implement those safety tools to get kind of a real quick baseline that will inform the rest of the questions and ways that we go about this. Let's think about this as if it were a movie. What rating do we want it to be? And this is going to be on Twitch, or rather, this is on Twitch, so we probably can't do R or NC-17. But, you know, what film rating would you like this to be? And since that's...
I'm good with PG-13, and I'm going to go ahead and start a Google Doc for this, so I can write down our notes, and then I'll share that in our side chat so that we can put it up later once it's all complete for folks to look at if they'd like to. But I'll start taking the notes. Cool. That's what I'm saying.
PG-13 seems cool to me as well. Works also well for Twitch and everything, so it's good.
Works for me.
All right. And it's important that everyone be okay, including the story guide. So I think that's something that some folks don't always pay attention to when they're trying to figure out how things work, is that when we're doing safety tools, we're doing like veils and lines, X card, what have you. Everyone at the table was a player. Don't run scenes that you are not familiar with. So like DMs, GMs, story guides, what have you. You're part of this conversation too. It's not just you directing questions to your players. You should also have a say for it. You should also have something that be an active participant in the conversation, because everyone at the table is playing the game. And yeah, no, but PG-13, good for me. We have 2 other players, probably, and we'll sort of like loop them in on the back end, and if we need to change something, we'll change something. But right now, PG-13 sounds good. Okay, so there's a safety tool called veils and lines. The idea behind a veil is actually, you know what? Spider, would you like to tell people? I feel like
yes, I would love to talk about safety tools, Hiromi. So okay, so the 3 main safety tools that we use in Scion and that are laid out in the books are lines and veils, the X card, and the stoplight system. So we'll start with lines and veils, and we'll touch on the other 2 in a minute, because I think they're also really important. We can decide whether we want to use them for this game. They are not the only safety tools that are out there, and these are not ironclad things. I want to stress that before we get into this. Hello, Davos. And because the important thing about a safety tool is that it's something that works for your group. So if you look at lines and veils and you say, this is great, but I'd like to add another section to it or handle it in a different way, nobody's going to come to your house and take your books if you're using different safety tools. In fact, we encourage you to change these and make them into something that works for your group. What's important is that you have some conversation about content and some conversation about what you do and don't want to have included as you go forward. Now for lines and veils, I always get them backwards. A line is a hard line. It's something that will not be included in the chronicle, off screen, on screen, nothing, absolutely 0% of the time. It is important to talk about things vaguely enough that they can kind of cover the topic, but also specifically enough that people understand what you are talking about. For example, one of my perpetual lines is medical abuse. And so by medical abuse, I mean things like forced institutionalization, doctors attempting to force treatment on someone, and even something like trans broken arm syndrome, where if a character has to deal with a doctor, they make it about them being fat or about them being trans or something like that, rather than actually seeing, what the actual problem is. So that's for me, that's a line that cannot exist for me in any game that I play in. I can't do it. A veil is something that could happen, but it will always happen off screen or in a fade to black situation where when something starts, the camera fades and then we can come back after it has occurred and deal with the aftermath. Or what goes on. And that doesn't necessarily have to be negative things either. For example, if you are a character who develops a sexual relationship, like playing a character that develops a sexual relationship with another character, we're playing a PG-13 game. So the bow chicka bow bow is gonna fade to black, and then you can come back afterwards and discuss like, this went well, this didn't go well, you know, what is our relationship going forward. So it doesn't have to be a negative thing for lines or veils. It's just stuff you don't want to deal with, whether that is on camera or at all, right? And then let me just quick zoom through the safety tools at a high level, and let's maybe circle back to lines and veils and kind of get into our own, if that works for you, Hiromi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So the X card, I have not personally used the X card. I think the Stoplight system works really well for me, but some people really do like it. And the X card is simply the rip cord that to eject yourself from a particular situation. Finding a way to do this with a remote game can be a little more challenging. We do have a side chat where somebody could just type an X, or we could have an X card channel or something like that, where someone just has to say, you know, invoking or whatever. At a table, normally what you would do is you would have a literal card with an X on it. And if something hits a trigger point or someone just gets too uncomfortable and they need to eject themselves from the situation right away, they can tap the X card and play stops. Normally what I recommend is that people take a 10-minute break. Everybody goes to calm down. And when the person comes back and the rest of the table comes back, it is okay to talk about what had you invoking the X card, but you don't have to. Everyone can discuss like where they want to go from there. It is really important not to pressure someone to reveal what made them bail out. It is an optional thing to explain, but it's just like if stuff gets too much, you got to stop. That's what it's there for.
Just as a quick aside, for streamed games, it sounds like we're probably not going to use the X card, but
yeah,
for again,
it is
for
the audience, possible to do so.
This
this
also works for cams. Like,
right,
sometimes you're not comfortable with like publicly displaying that you invoking it, but if you are, this is fast. This is very fast. Readable.
I often recommend for stream games that people have a side way of communicating these things so that it is not necessary for players to reveal who threw the X card. That can make people feel uncomfortable, and the last thing you want to do is make someone feel uncomfortable in using a safety tool. Davos, you really need to stop, or I'm kicking you out of the room. The last tool that we have here is the Stoplight system, which is one of my personal favorites. I absolutely love it. The Stoplight system is exactly as simple as it seems. If we're in a tense conversation, maybe Hiromi is playing an NPC and that NPC and Jeffrey's character get into a verbal altercation, it is a good idea to, as things get more wound up, to just pause and, hey, stoplight check-in. You can do that. Again, you can do that in a chat where it is off screen, so you don't have to do that. You don't have to be verbally, how are you? Sometimes some people will just do, quick thumbs up in the middle, like, so that you don't have to interrupt the flow. And then you can respond with, thumbs up, middle, thumbs down. If the thumbs down comes out or like this, like, it's time to either roll it back a little, depending on how you've agreed to use the stoplight system, or to stop, right? I would say anytime someone is throwing a thumb, you need to stop and say, okay, a little bit more of a check-in. Do we need to just peel this back a little bit? Do you want to fade it to black? The important thing is that these are tools to facilitate communication. right? So there is no one way to respond to a thumbs down except, first of all, stop, right? And then decide what it is that you want to do together, because again, this is a collaborative process, right? So whether it is the thumbs up, whether it is, hey, I just want to pause real quick and do a stoplight check-in verbally, whether you have a side chat, that is necessary, I think, in any kind of emotional or fraught situation, whether that is a combat where someone's character is quite hurt, you know, and stands a chance of permanent repercussions, whether that is a positive thing that is nevertheless intense, you know, checking in with people is important. And also, if you just see people, read people's faces, right, as best you can. Not everyone's very good at that, right? But if you see someone looking uncomfortable, it's better to do a stoplight check-in proactively, in my experience, than to say, oh, I'm probably reading that wrong, or they would bring it up if they were uncomfortable. Not everyone's very good at that, you know, like that is definitely a skill, being able to advocate for yourself when you're uncomfortable, especially if you're uncomfortable on camera, you know. So definitely, I think it's incumbent on anybody who's a participant to, and even if you're someone that's like in a situation like this, I would say, like, if the argument is going on between my character and Hiromi's NPC, or a story guide character, for example, and I see like Jeffrey is looking uncomfortable, you know, with the content or whatever, I can stop. Or if Michelle says, oh, you know, like I really think Spider looks kind of actually upset, anybody that's involved in this can stoplight check in, you know, that's fine. And I would honestly recommend it. So that is the very high level overview of the three main safety tools that we use in Scion. And hi, this is Davos. This is my baby. He's decided to come visit with us today. So yeah, let's maybe circle back to lines and veils and talk about what we might like to put in our lines to begin with. What are some things that we never want to deal with?
I want to complicate our safety tools by adding half an extra tool.
Okay, I'm down.
So with the stoplight system, there is a variant that I've seen that is, I think, potentially very useful because of its clarity, as long as everyone understands it. The first time it was used in a game that I was in, I didn't understand it, and so I missed it. And now I'm like, oh wait, no, that's genius. So one of the tools in this case is, instead of yellow or like this, fast forward. In other words, the scene doesn't need to end.
Right.
But this specific part of the scene we need to get past it. We need to go to the rest of this. So like, instead of tense argument happening between these two characters, the argument is now over. They can still be mad. There can still be tension. There can still be more of the scene to resolve, but the actual yelling is now complete.
So it's a fast forward or kind of fade to black kind of situation. Yes, it really is like a fade to black, but it's past that piece. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm down. Yeah, now you use that in place of yellow or as an addition to yellow?
I have mainly seen it used in place of yellow, and then fade to black and red are basically the same already, but like that would be more explicit, like fast forward and or fade to black if the scene just needs to stop. And I'm not saying that, I'm not prescribing that we use any specific thing, although we do need to agree on one. I'm just providing that as like an additional thing because I think it's cool. And I figured that you, as someone who's very passionate about safety tools,
I am
interested in knowing if you didn't already.
No, I didn't know that, and thank you. I'm always glad to learn other techniques and takes on things. I think personally, I like that, but I like it in addition to, because where I find yellow to be very useful as take a pause. And someone says yellow, you're going to stop. Okay, that allows us to have a conversation where I could say, for example, You know, I'm a little uncool with X, Y, or Z that's occurring here. I could continue if we can dial those back, you know. I don't where you don't necessarily need to fast forward, right? Or it's possible that in the middle of a scene, someone may stumble on a veil that they didn't know that they had. But if you remove that aspect from the scene, let's say that for some reason I forgot to put, you know, centipedes on my lines, and I really, it came up in a scene, suddenly there's this, I'm like, could we wait a minute, you know, could we change the giant centipede for a giant lobster, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. And as long as I like that aspect of it a little bit, where there's you don't necessarily have to fast forward, but I think both would be really awesome.
Okay.
And I personally, for a streamed game, I am a fan of, if we are going to be paying attention to our side chat during stream, using that, because it makes it easier for people to call for those sorts of things without having to necessarily draw attention to themselves. And I know we have some anxious beings in our group, including me, right, from time to time. So I like having the ability to not be the one that is calling out on Twitch, no, I have to stop, you know. It can make people really self-conscious. So that's my preference.
That works for me. It's so yeah. I'm okay with that.
Works for me.
And for clarity, so are we talking about Stoplight System used in our side chat?
I think that would be great. That is my vote.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that on our notes here. So we're gonna do the stoplight system with the addendum of yellow conversation or yellow fast forward is what I'm gonna.
Okay.
I will make a separate channel in just a second for the exclusive use of stoplight, so that if it lights up, we know that we need to pay attention to it. It doesn't get lost in other chat.
That's smart. Nice.
It's almost like I run online games and have been doing it for 25 years. Yes. Yes, that's the one place where I am a big old nerd. Okay, stoplight.
So since some of this is like talking about things that we know, but not necessarily the audience, what Spiders just said is that like we have a Discord server that we're using for this game, and with Discords you can have different channels for different topics, and if there's a channel that's just for stoplight check-in, then the only reason that you're going to see that channel highlight is when there's something important, which is fucking brilliant.
We have a similar channel on the Slack that we have for Nerdy Kepi, for the company that I run, that is just alerts, where if there's a critical thing everybody needs to know, it goes in that channel and nothing else goes in that channel, and it works perfectly for that kind of thing. Oh.
Nice. Cool. Okay. So
so let's talk about want to talk about lines and veils. I feel like I'm taking over. I'm sorry.
No, I mean I like safety tools. I'm knowledgeable about safety tools. I use them. You fucking love them. So I
do. I really love them a lot. Like, I write them in like every book. I'm like, hold on, I'm gonna put the safety tools in this book too. Hiromi's like, okay, sure, I'll give you word count for safety tools again. Yeah, you will. You're very kind to me. You're very kind to me in letting me put them everywhere. Okay, so I put in the Discord, I think, if I haven't done it yet. Nope, I'll put it here now. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in our general channel on the Discord. If everyone wants to open up the documents, you can see what I'm working on. After this, if everyone can give me their emails, I can add you all as editors. That way we'll be able to share the link for this in the Twitch chat, so people can actually see the safety tools that we're using. Since we are doing this as kind of a spotlight thing, I want to make sure everyone can actually see our process documents.
Yeah.
So
lines
and veils.
Starting lines and veils. Medical abuse has already been mentioned. Centipedes has been mentioned.
Yes.
I'm just going to say SA because that's always that's always. I don't want to say it, but I kind of have to say it because not everyone knows. SA is short for sexual assault. So like anything in that category, you can.
I just use sexual abuse, in general. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like for your personal game, with friends, people that you know and trust, you might want to get more granular with like what specific is a line and what is a veil. But I'm not going to run a game, I'm not going to participate in a game where it exists at all. You can have your own feelings of safety within your community as to whether or not to allow it. I'm just going to flat out say that I'm not okay with it. So
one of the things that we also you can also do as a clarification on lines also is where a line can be we call it like a dotted line, which is this can have occurred in someone's background. This is a thing maybe that you're getting over, right? Because for a lot of people, right, that is a thing that has happened, and sometimes people want to work things out. And I play a lot of changeling and a lot of mage, so saying that you can never have had any kind of certain types of abuse occur, it closes off a lot of those things that are a legitimate part of the game. And changeling especially is a game that's a lot about trauma. But that dotted line approach where things kind of happened in people's backgrounds can also, be good. The game that I currently run, which Hiromi hears me talk about all the time, that is a sexual abuse and sexual assault are dotted line things, where people can have had them occur in their background. They will never occur in gameplay, on screen, off screen, nothing like that. That is not a thing that occurs, in the actual gameplay. But there are characters who were in domestic abuse situations who were assaulted at some point in their life, right? So that is another valid approach. So we currently have medical abuse, sexual abuse. I'm going to put domestic abuse in there as well, just to kind of cover all of our. Do
it.
Yeah. And centipedes, because I am extremely phobic. So, is there anything else that you'd like to put on the lines?
I'd like to put in child abuse of any sort.
Okay, great.
I'm okay with in Scion with fantasy danger for children. If a giant kidnaps children and puts them over a cauldron or something, I'm okay with that. It's the mundane sorts that I'd rather not have in their episode.
I will write that down as realistic child abuse and put a note, fantasy danger, okay.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to actually can I clarify that to realistic child abuse or endangerment? Like you don't want a kid to almost get hit by a car, but it's okay if a giant kidnaps a kid? Is that?
Yes, that works.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm very clear when I'm writing it down.
Yeah,
I'm okay also if with I don't know if in a fight there's a building falling and there's people there and children are included. I'm okay with that, and I'll try to save them probably. It's actually people, mundane people are hurting children. That's the thing I don't want them.
That is fantastically clear. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Jeffrey, is there anything else that you want to put?
I think nothing that isn't already covered.
Okay.
And also covered under PG-13. So.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's move to veils. That is something that can happen, but must always happen off screen. I think one of the things that we discussed as far as consensual sexual encounters, or because this is a PG-13 game and we're playing with our coworkers, I think would be a good thing to put under veils.
Related to having sex scenes as a veil, in other words, like it happens, but it's not
right
role played.
Mm-hmm.
A concept that I've heard, and I think I shared it in one of the Discords, but like I'm in over 20 Discords, so who knows if I actually said it to any of you.
Right.
A really cool concept that I ran into is that you fade to black, and then afterwards you tell at least one thing that your character learned about themselves through like that. So like or I guess more to the point, what the audience might have learned about your character through that scene. Like, are they selfish?
Right.
Are they very giving? Like, are they perhaps
a top? Sorry.
Are they a top? Are they
sorry?
Are they timid in one sphere but not the other?
Right.
Because like some people, when they can be intimate, and not necessarily physically intimate, but intimate,
right.
like within an intimate area, they express themselves in a different way, where like they might be like more aggressive, more passionate. They might have emotions that they don't display anywhere else. And I'm not saying that we have to or should do this, or even that sex scenes will occur within the game.
Right.
Just that it's a very interesting way to sort of go, okay, the scene's stopping because it's getting too hot, but we still learn something. The scene still resolves. It's just abstracted into this information about the character.
I think if that ever comes up, that is pretty cool. All right, so we have, then we'll put a note there. What did we learn? Excuse me. I have a pretty intense background with religious-based abuse. And I think that is, like there's evangelicals specifically coming after my character or anything like that, and explicit anti-Semitism. I think I would prefer, that's okay if it happens, I just don't want to role play it. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm gonna put religious abuse and anti-Semitism.
So related to those, what about ableism, racism, anti-queer bigotry?
So for me personally, and I'm not speaking for anyone else, those are our topics that so we use another mechanic from Dust Till Dawn. We have a hard veil and a soft veil. Mm-hmm. A soft veil is when you check in ahead of time or warn someone. So like, for example, if I'm aware that this is coming up and and I'm ready to handle it, I'm good with some of those things, right? Mm-hmm. Anti-Semitism, I just don't want to deal with. Yeah. Ableism or anti-queer bigotry, like that's what my character's doing for a living, right? Is dealing with anti-queer bigotry. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to feel like I'm getting mugged with it. So I'm personally good with those things as a soft veil with a warning, or with so this session, this may come up. Are you good with it? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like when we touch base ahead of time, I'm good with that. So I don't know about anybody else, not speaking for them, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Michaela, Jeffrey?
I'm asking for input. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear.
No, I agree with that. That works for me. So No objection from me for that.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
the
me
stuff-
asking is not me saying this is something I'm planning on doing. This is me going, since we're on this topic, and since people watching might not think about this, let's talk about other things in this sphere. One of the safety tools that I like using, or at least stealing from, is Gehenna Gaming's consent form, which itself is loosely tied to Monty Cook's consent gaming. And like, just because it has a lot of things in it that like I might not think up at the time at the table. And so one of the reasons why it's helpful to use a checklist is because it brings up these things that you might not think of when we're just talking, which helps to avoid the situation where there's a veil you didn't know you had, where something comes up as a scene, you're like, oh, shit.
Well, that may come up anyway because people's comfort levels change, but it does help to avoid it. So let me suggest that we offline that chart, we'll grab one of those and kind of go over it, during the next week, and we can add or subtract from our lines or veils as necessary. I will also grab, I don't know if any of you have, because I talk about it all the time, we do player surveys as well, which allows people to not only communicate their personal lines and veils, which is on a bigger game more important. Ours is a perpetual world game. But it also has things like, how can we give you and your character a crowning moment of awesome and things like that. So I think that would be really fun. I'll pull those and we can have them, before next week, because that addresses some of the positive things. And not everybody has really thought, we just made these characters, so we may have to have some time to really think about like what really cool thing would I like to have happen, as opposed to just all these things that I don't want to have happen. Is also really fun too. I don't, one of my hard veils, now that we're talking about it, is cheating, relationship infidelity. That's what I just don't ever want to personally, like, it's not fun for me. I don't find it interesting. I don't want to find out my character's partner is cheating on them, like have it sprung on me or anything like that. I've had that happen too many times. It's just not fun. So I'm gonna put that on the hard veils.
For a veil, I'll think I'll add family arguments unrelated to the divine arguments. I'm okay with them being part of storylines or characters, but I'd rather not role played through them. So
are you talking about mundane family arguments, or are you talking about like you don't want your character to have to argue with their divine parent, for example?
No, with the divine parents, it's basically part of Scion, and I'm okay with that if that happens. It's more storylines that involve not necessarily toxic relatives, but arguments that happen in human families, basically.
Okay, so human family arguments, and like maybe toxic family arrangements. Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's very clear.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, do you have anything else that you would like to add? I just want to make sure that we're not all talking over you and you're not getting a chance to weigh in.
I've been talking all along, but
yeah, microphone.
For me, it's tell me if this falls into this category.
Please.
My tolerance for descriptions of violence is more Agatha Christie rather than Hannibal.
Okay, so explicit gore.
Yes.
Explicit gore. So let's make that that under soft veil kind of thing.
Yeah.
So explicit gore, like gore is what, like, yes, violence can happen, but explicit gore is not a thing. I have to put that under hard veils. Explicit gore.
Yeah.
We don't really want to ever have explicit gore. We want you to be like, and then the thing happens and the guy's head is over there, not
Right.
like in the
Right.
blood sprays forever, you know. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm with it. I'm with it. So just to review, I'm sorry, please go.
Oh, sorry. A little mentioned, it's a little bit odd. I have this phobia of fungi and mushrooms and stuff like that. But
Okay.
I also deal with that in my way. I played lots of The Last of Us, for example, and it scares me absolutely me too from head to toes, but I handle that. So it's just maybe a little warning. Hey,
So we'll put that under
this,
your soft fail. I'm sorry.
yeah, that works.
So it's a soft, so because you want a warning so that you can be prepared to deal with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
in this session we have someone who has been taken over by giant monstrous fungi. Perhaps give me a warning of that. So.
And so that's why we have soft fails. Perfect. So we're gonna put fungi, rot, mushrooms under.
Yeah, playing The Last of Us was an experience.
Yeah, I bet it was. I bet it was. Hiromi, I haven't explicitly checked in with you in a little bit. Is there anything else that you have had it would like to add onto this list?
It's not going to come up for me, but I'd like to bring it up because I think it's a useful thing to talk about and then sort of like split. It probably won't. Well, whatever. I'll bring it up and we'll decide later. Losing control of a character. So this is like something that happened. Should I stop there?
Oh, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. Actually, I hadn't thought about that at all. No, like mind control kind of thing. No,
Yeah.
no.
So, yeah. That, depending on very precise things, that is either a line or.
Nope, that's a line.
Yeah.
That's a line. I don't ever want to not be in control of my character. I just know. I've had it happen too many times in other games, and it's never been a fun or interesting thing for me. So I'm thank you for bringing that up. The minute you brought it up, I was like,
yep.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, the one way that I'm okay with it happening to my characters is if I'm still in control, but I no longer receive accurate sensory information from the storyteller. Like if I'm in control of the character and then like they're saying, oh, you that zombie over there, no, you that, or I guess to put it in a more contextually accurate, that vampire over there, no, you that's your neighbor, you've known them for like 20 years. Yeah, no, you've been hanging out. I'm like, okay, good to know.
Nope.
Good to know.
That's a hard no for me. I'm not good with that. Thank you for bringing it up. Like, and until you had brought it up, I did, but my reaction was instant. I was like, no, oh my God, no.
Yep.
No, I'm not good with, so like, if something is occurring like that, say if in the situation where we might be fighting the giant mushroom person that shoots off hallucinatory spores, I want to know in character and out of character. Like, it's okay for me to be hallucinating in character, but I want to receive explicit, correct information from the story guide on what is actually happening. Like that, I have to have that contrasting information. If only so I know that I am not going to cross another line or veil by not having accurate information. Because if, for example, like that's, I think that my neighbor is a vampire, to flip that around, right? I think my character's partner is a vampire. I don't want that crosses the domestic abuse line in reaction. So I want to be able to make a decision out of character about how to handle that so that I don't cross another line or veil or do something that makes me uncomfortable. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Totally understandable.
So I'm going to write that. Oh, so finish with that.
Because because like I think most people who have played Vampire, especially in the 90s, we're all familiar with dominance and would fucking hate it.
Can I sidebar for like a 2-minute story? So the first LARP I ever played in, and this was 1996, Kat's dad was playing a character, Giovanni, who was involved with my character. And the storytellers didn't like that this Giovanni had like connections to a non-Giovanni. So we showed up at game and we were told that when Darius had gone to a Giovanni meeting, he had walked into the room and explicitly like confessed like to every involvement that he had with a non-Giovanni character, including mine, and that he was now imprisoned by the Giovanni. And later we found out that it was Dominate, which was just bad. And like, and ever since then, I'm like, no, I don't like that. I don't want to do that, you know? So that is the kind of thing that makes people react like that, just for the record. The game was otherwise pretty fun, but it was definitely very 90s in terms of its consent culture.
Yeah.
We've grown a lot since then, and I'm very proud of the community for making these changes, but it was sure a thing. So I'm going to write that down as losing control of your character without accurate out-of-game information.
And while we're kind of going down sort of like spheres,
Finish with that.
There's also the idea of PvP, because player versus player combat, which some people are like, we should, if we disagree and we're powerful, we can fight. And some people are like, no, we're friends at a table. We're not fucking fighting. So like it.
I'm good with arguing, like, and you know, because I think that we have characters that have different perspectives, and I think it would be weird personally to say that we couldn't argue, but I don't know that we need to like fight each other. I think it's just, I don't know. That's not my jam. So whatever other people think.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
arguments are fine, but actually, oh, sorry, Jeff.
No. I was just saying I'm fine.
So we're going to put PvP combat on our lines. Okay. I clarified a little bit on the previous thing real quick. So I just want to reread it and make sure that I'm encapsulating this correctly. So I put under lines, I actually separated it. So it is losing control of your character, and then hallucinations or bad sensory input without accurate out-of-game information, because I don't want to lose control of my character, but like I'm good with hallucinations and bad sensory input as long as I have that accurate out-of-game information. So I separated it to clarify it a little bit, but all right, cool. You all should have invites to edit the document now. So if there's anything else that you think of later after we finish up here today, please feel free to edit things in. This is a living document. So like, yes, we will change this as we go along. Things can move from lines to hard veils to soft veils back and forth as people find their comfort. Thank you, Michelle. Michelle is adding collateral endangerment, okay, to our realistic child abuse or endangerment, which is what you said about like if a building is falling and then you have to run in and rescue the children. Thank you for adding that clarification. Hiromi, I think you were about to say something. So
I was just going to say that at this point, it seems like we have a pretty solid concept of the safety tools that we're going to be using. We'll develop it more, but like that's not necessarily something that we need to be streaming. And so now that we're safe, let's talk, and we know what we don't want to see in the game. Let's talk about things that we do want to see in the game. So I would like kind of a list of genres or perhaps inspirational media that folks are like, I would like to play a game that's like this. And I'm not guaranteeing that any of those genres will be the thing, but it makes it much easier to make something that kind of flows with what kind of game you want to play.
Totally. Let's see, media.
And like, it could end up being They Came from Scion, if folks really want to go the B movie approach.
I love Sandman and the Kieran, of course, Wicked and Divine is a big influence for Scion in general, and the Kieran Gillen Once and Future, which I am currently like obsessed with.
It's really good.
Yeah, but that very things are revealed and things are not always what you think you are, but you are caught in a story, and story rules matter. You know, that kind of fate binding, like that is a big thing that I enjoy in stories. You know, like you may be cast in a role and you have to either subvert that role or break out of it or
Yeah,
whatever.
Well, that's something I always love, and it's one of my main things, even when it comes to the Chronicles of Darkness. So I'm okay with that. I love Sandman and everything Kieron Gillen is working on. So Once and Future, Die, or The Wicked and the Divine. I always bring up that actually my favorite media when it comes to comics is probably Hellboy. So in that sense, that works. And that's probably a good beginning for me, or stuff like that I like.
With Hellboy, is it specifically Hellboy or also BPRD?
No, everyone in there, Leeds, Abe, Roger, the whole universe. I'm happy with that. And even if I'm a little bit of they came from a representative here, there's no need to go the B movie or the, let's say, more comedic tone. It's not mandatory here. So I'm okay with getting more into standard Scion vibes here, if that makes sense as a description.
I'm down.
And
I have it written down.
And I would say for me, one of the things I like a lot about Scion is that it's fundamentally optimistic.
So like a hope punk kind of.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Your heroes, you can change the world for the better. And goodness knows we need that these days.
Along those, we do. Along those lines, I put down, I like it, the conflicts in, and the type of conflicts in Star Trek, especially Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Discovery, where a lot of the conflicts, like my absolute favorite Star Trek episode of all time is In the Pale Moonlight, which is the one where Sisko has to bring the Romulans into the war. And he does it by basically betraying all of his principles. He has to. And the entire thing is what is acceptable to do and how much of yourself are you willing to give up in order to help or save other people, right? Are you willing to cross those lines, which is also a very Discworld, and oh boy, do I love Discworld, you know, so that's another, you know, thing that we can put in there, where it's, you know, the Sam Bimes question of what is the right thing to do, and if you cross that line, can you uncross it in the future? So I find those kinds of questions to be really invigorating in stories. I love them. So
and that's also built into Scion.
yes.
More so later at Hero when you get into
Yeah.
failure genes for callings. But it's you as the player making that choice. I'm going to cross this line. I know.
Okay, I lost you after making that choice. Go ahead.
The player makes the choice and knows that it is going to cost.
Yes.
The cost
That,
is.
that I'm good for. It's a good high point.
Thinking about it, that will probably make sense given the inspiration I elicit. I like a lot something akin to what Spider described, that you come chained within a given narrative, or perhaps you choose a narrative for yourself, but the universe conspires to shape that according to laws that aren't your own. So that makes sense for Hellboy or other inspirations. And I also like a lot a trait that works both for Hellboy and Spider-Man. That's when you're beaten down by the circumstances, by everything, but you still get up in the end and keep going no matter how much things get difficult or rough for you. Even if seemingly the universe hates you, you still gonna go for your ideals in the end. So that's something I like a lot. So if that's happens, I'm with it.
All right, so I've actually started a second section under the what do we want, and so I had media influences, and then I started themes. So I have moral questions, heroes always get back up, the narrative is in control, and you must keep going. We'll change it. So I have moral questions, heroes always get up, and then the narrative is in control, and you must push back on it or change it, as like themes that I've heard people bring up that they enjoy. Do we like? I also like the conflict between people's supernatural lives and their mundane lives. What's going to win out? And I feel like there's some themes in the things that people were talking about that I may have missed. I will just move Hope Punk down to themes. It's not really a media. Okay. Yeah, and the game is inherently hopeful in some fashion, rather than being inherently doom.
Cool.
Yeah, doom. Okay, I think that's. I mean, like there's 5 really solid themes under themes. Moral questions. You can, but should you? Heroes always get back up. The narrative is in control, and you must push back on it or change it. And then conflict between supernatural and mundane lives and home punk. Is there anything that I am missing on that list?
I don't think so.
I think that's some pretty solid stuff for you to work with in crafting some narratives there, Hiromi.
Yep.
This is a nice list. I like it a lot. Is there anything else in terms of things that we want to put on here now? I will bring the player survey so people can have a chance to think about their, crowning moments of awesome and themes that you personally want for your characters, which is a little different from game themes. But is there anything else that needs to go on this document right now?
Not that I can think right now. I probably add some more into that list as we go into the week.
Yep. All right.
I think just a little bit more about genre.
Sure.
Because when we're bringing up the inspirational media, most of it isn't at like a
street level,
origin level. It's
level.
not really like an origin level, because like Sandman
right.
within the Divine, I don't think I've read that Once in the Future, but those are relatively high power. Hellboy kind of goes where Hellboy wants to go, like whatever Mike Mignola wants to do. It's cool.
I think that Once in Future is actually a really good. I would recommend if you can grab it from your library or whatever, or Comixology or something, because it actually it starts out. It is a very good origin story period for someone in an Arthurian, because it literally starts out with a guy finding out how he is involved in that story, right? He's at the beginning of the night, and I'm not going to spoil anything beyond this, right? He is a guy that's on a date and his grandmother calls him. Okay. That's where he starts. So I think that would be a really good, I mean, I think it's a perfect origin story as far as I'm concerned.
I'll also add that, well, not that Hiromi needs example of that, but I always point at Once in the Future for some of the best example of how Scion mantles work. It's the closest, probably one of the closest you can find in media that aren't Scion.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Without spoiling anything, because
yes, thumbs up. Yes. I keep forgetting that like I can't do this anymore because people are jerks. So thumbs up. Yeah. Because I just realized I'd done it. I'm like, anyway. For
origin.
Yeah. So I love urban fantasy, as you know. And so if we were gonna say genre, like I'd like that urban fantasy where things kind of peel back and you find, you're finding out who you are and climbing up from that street level. Like that's my jam. It's my absolute jam. So
yeah, beginning American Gods can work as
yes, perfect summation. I'm going to stick American Gods under media. And then I think like urban fantasy, beginning of American Gods, does that kind of hit more what you were thinking was genre? Hiromi?
Yeah, I was also thinking of like the ways folks would want to interact within this. I mean, with two of you being activists / investigators, it seems like mysteries, both in the sense of this is supernatural, so you don't know what the hell's going on, and mysteries in terms of getting to the bottom of something seem like they're both okay. Yeah. I saw big nods from all three of you.
Yeah.
That is a winner.
So
okay.
Urban fantasy mystery. Seems like a really good summation of, I think, the points that people are bringing up. So like urban fantasy mystery. Yes. No. Okay. Please, when I'm writing stuff down, I will ask that folks verbally respond to me, just because I'm switching between windows, so I don't always see. Just when I'm recording things for the group, that is helpful to me. Sorry.
Okay.
So right now, I'm just going to review for folks who cannot see this document. Wonder our what do we want? We have media influences: Sandman, Once in Future, The Wicked and the Divine, Hellboy, the whole comic, Star Trek, especially Deep Space Nine and Discovery, Discworld, Sam Vimes and The Witches. What do you want? What does it cost? American Gods. Then under themes, we have moral questions. You can, but should you? Heroes always get back up. The narrative is in control and you must push back on it or change it. Conflict between supernatural and mundane lives, and then an overarching feeling of that hope punk and essentially hopeful game. And then our genre, as we have defined it, is urban fantasy mystery.
Nice.
I think that
works.
That hits it. Is there anything else that we need to record on this, or that we need to touch on for the what do you want that will help you to craft a really cool setup for us, Hiromi?
I think I have a fair amount of material to work with, both in sort of like a broad and like a more narrow in terms, especially like bringing up specific touchdowns like Cisco and Sam Vines and Hellboy and the rest of BPRD.
Like, Tiffany Aching too, which is one of the Discworld. It's like the YA Discworld, but it's a lot of her stuff is focused on like you can but should you, what does magic cost. She is the young, she's almost like the origin level Nanny Og and the other one whose name escapes me right now. She's the origin level witch essentially. So that kind of idea of power is and power costs. So yeah, for sure.
Okay. So at this point we have characters who are ready to go.
Yep.
We have safety tools so that we know what we can do during the game to keep ourselves safe. We have preloaded lines and veils so that we know what we shouldn't approach, or what we should approach with care. We have a ton of inspirations and themes that we want to engage with. I think we're probably good at this point. That said, does anyone have anything that they want to add? Any concerns? And this doesn't necessarily have to happen on the stream/recording. We can talk about it offline. But I wanted to give you all the chance to voice anything that you had.
I think I pretty much said all that came to my mind tonight, so I'm good. Probably the one thing is that for the people watching, that we have probably more people joining us, so their input will also get added into our list, and that's gonna make it even cooler in a sense. So we'll see that.
Yes, I just added Rai and Erica to the document and put a note on it and said, this is the lines and veils, and all of our themes and things like that. So if you want to add and edit, please feel free to do so. And if you have any questions, please ask on the Discord. So I'm not just sending them a document, I'm making sure that they know what it is, and that we are explicitly requesting their input, which I think is very important when you're doing conversations like this, especially if someone has to miss it. Please make sure that when you're talking to your players, this is like, again, my safety tools is very near and dear to my heart, that you are telling them that you explicitly request their input on safety tools and on anything that they want to see in the game. A lot of us come from backgrounds, as I was discussing earlier, where the storytellers just do things and they view the game, story guides, storytellers, dungeon masters as the undisputed ruler of a game, which is a way to play a game, but it's not a way I prefer to play a game. So a lot of us can be a little shy about maybe expressing our needs. So as a story guide, I think one of the best things that you can do is explicitly ask for input. So I beg everyone who's watching this Twitch stream to start making that part of your habits, to tell your players that you want their input and reassure them, because a lot of us are anxious little beings, and a lot of us have had experiences that have made us not want to, suggest or to be involved in the story crafting process. So Hiromi, I did the thing again. I just went off on a little rant about safety tools.
It's cool.
Stop now.
It's important. Jeffrey, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Questions, comments, concerns?
No, I assume next time we will get something like where this game is set, in case we need to tweak our character concepts.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I need.
And
yeah, that is a good question.
the setting might be multiple at the start. Who knows? Scion is global.
Yes.
Both in terms of religions and cultures, and in terms of characters and players.
Sweet.
We'll see.
Okay. So I think that gives us all that we need at this point. We'll have conversations that aren't on camera throughout the week to get the rest of it sorted out, to make sure that we have that everyone has what they need.
Yes.
So this will be a great time for people to remind our audience who they are, where they can find your stuff, anything that you would like to plug. And with that specific hook in mind, I'm gonna turn it over to Michaela, because something happens on the 10th, and this episode will come out after the 10th.
Yeah, speaking to you from the past, I think that at this point, the Kickstarter for they came from Classified, which I wrote for, and they came from the Cyclops Cave, which I developed and wrote for, is probably live. So if you like spy movies from Bond to the Avengers and fantasy movies from basically since they made those up until the late 90s, and you have options to play, have fun with those, being both as a comedy or a drama or anything in between. And I think you'll you'll enjoy those games, and so give them a check and consider backing the Kickstarter. It's the both books come from a place of love, and so give them a chance, and I think you'll get some cool games in there.
Awesome. Jeffrey?
I have nothing to promote at the moment, but you can find me online on, let's see, Twitter, am_Jeffrey, or on Onyx Path Discord channel.
We lost you. We
lost you at find you at Onyx Path Discord channel.
Okay. Yes, where on that channel, if you just go for @Jeffrey, you'll likely end up with me. Pretty certain.
Jeffrey's around on the Discord.
Jeffrey spelled the fancy way, Geo.
Yes, the old.
Jeffrey is very fancy.
We'll have little
yes.
overlays.
Okay.
Have,
that's
spelling.
yeah. I should have assumed that, but you know.
It's good to remind people in case they're not like looking at
the thing. Yeah.
Spider.
Yeah, so you can find me online everywhere except Instagram. I am VA Spider, V as in Victor, A as in Apple, Spider like the animal, including Tumblr, Twitter, you know, all your major social media places and fun times. You can also find me on Patreon, where I do queer fiction and queer poetry for $1 per thing. And my company, my day job is Nerdy Kepi, and we do quality queerware. At some point, we will be the company that is partnering with Onyx Path for the stretch goal for Exalted Essence. We will have a specific tote bag for Exalted Essence. And you can find us either at nerdykepi.com, or if you don't want to remember how to spell that, it has pockets.gay. It has pockets.gay. We have clothing that goes up to 5X that is gender neutral, including dresses and just about anything that you can think. And the dresses do all have pockets. We just launched the post normcore t-shirt collection. There are some new ones that are coming out soon, and that collection is specifically, all profits from that are funding my brother, who is also our ops lead's gender confirming surgeries.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm very excited about that. So if you want some cool t-shirts, cool clothes, you know, it has pockets.gay.
And I'm Hiromi Cota, they, them. I am on the internet in various places, Twitter and TikTok, and probably other places as Hiromi Cota. In addition to wanting to encourage people to back, or at least take a look at They Came from the Cyclops' Cave and They Came from Classified, because I wrote on those, and they're really cool books that you can play very seriously, or it can be pretty silly. Like, you could have James Bond, or you could have Get Smart, or you could do both in the same campaign. It's flexible. In addition to that, Cthulhu Awakens by Green Ronin is also on Kickstarter right now. I also worked on that with a bunch of other queer people of color, and it's a full game that takes place within the past century or so, where weird stuff has started to happen, and it takes a lot of the concepts of cosmic horror and changes them up significantly so that it gets rid of Lovecraft's bullshit, but keeps the horror.
Yeah.
And so like looking at a Shoggoth doesn't like make you insane, because that's not how mental illness works.
Mhm.
It does things to you that you do not want, but but madness is thrown out because that's not how mental illness works. And there's another thing, magic. Yeah, magic is weird in Lovecraft Cthulhu Awakens. I made the system. It is super weird.
I'm excited. That sounds
If-
awesome, man.
If you want to know what happens when people let me get away with whatever I want in a magical system, check it out, because it's weird. Math is involved. It will hurt. It will hurt your brain.
If I may, I'll say a thing that I love cosmic horror a lot, and the genre made a lot of steps to reclaim space from Lovecraft and the past, especially because somehow the lots of people that grown attached to cosmic horror are people that Lovecraft himself wouldn't have liked. So there have been lots of efforts to reclaim the genre and lots of steps, and I think that Cthulhu Awakens is one of those steps, and they did some really cool things. I looked at it, and it's a valiant effort to move the genre even further. So I'll add that as a fan of everything Eldritch and horror like that.
Thanks. So yeah, that's all for now. Catch us next weekend. We're still in a pandemic, folks, so like be safe, wash your hands, try to stay away from people, get vaccinated if you can, wear masks.
Wear a mask,
because like it's real easy and it helps a lot.
Yeah.
So be safe.
Word.